Struggling to discuss sex and intimacy with your partner?
Not feeling met, seen, or heard in your relationships?
I'm Janelle.
And I'm Andrea. We're two midlife mavericks sharing our own experiences.
Messy AF and no regrets.
With marriage, divorce, polyamory, and pleasure.
We've learned that when you're brave enough to figure out what you want and ask for it,
with partners, friends, family, and most importantly, yourself,
you'll feel more alive and free.
Question everything, especially your mother's advice.
There's no rom-com formula for this, but don't panic.
Being alone matters. Honey, I can't miss you if you don't leave.
What if your breakup could be your breakthrough?
Our podcast is for brave hearts.
Anyone who seeks or has found the courage to confront their fears and limiting beliefs about breaking societal norms in the spirit of finding their truth.
If you're seeking permission to be brave in your relationships
and want to feel less alone along the way, we got you.
Love that I learned so much about Judaism from interviewing a practicing, synagogue-going Jewish mom today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she and I both grew up on the East Coast, and so I felt like what she was describing was like a lot of the friends that I grew up with, but she was able to explain some of the faith and the practices and the traditions and the way of life in a way that I, to this day didn't really understand. And so I feel in this episode, I have, gained some really big insights into my friends who are Jewish.
I have more respect for the ability of a community to support an individual because she spoke so much about tradition, people, the temple, the gathering, the traditions, the giving. Mm-hmm. And these things clearly help her build a strong foundation of a relationship with God.
The other really big aha that came through for me with Tara was understanding how much this lifetime matters to the Jewish person about this lifetime versus this lifetime feeding into the next lifetime. That like the afterlife isn't actually a cornerstone or value or a pillar of all in the Jewish faith. I had no idea.
Yeah. I love that they're so in the now.
Yes.
It's very Buddhist. I love it. Okay. So you're about to get the Jewish perspective, brave hearts.
Yeah, the Jewish reform perspective from a mom from the East Coast who lives in Denver. As she pointed out, it's like we all have our own unique perspective, and she is giving us hers. And so we're so grateful for that.
Hi, brave hearts. Welcome to Permission to be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
And this is season 5, How to Build a Relationship with God, or Spirit, or the universe, or your knowing, or Jesus, or whoever it is that you call that greater power. So I'm super excited today to interview my old dear friend, Tara. We met, Tara, I looked up like our first meeting in Google Calendar.
Wow.
2012.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a long time ago. And I would be totally remiss if I did not credit Mari Cohen with introducing us.
Yes.
Because Mari is very big on getting credit where credit is due. She's like, did I get credit for that? I better have gotten credit for that. So, and I've seen her lately and I've forgotten to mention that I've chatted with you. So we met that long time ago. We just kind of had an instant connection. And I do remember, I remember you telling me, actually, one of the most profound things you talked about is you told me about a Brandi-Carlisle concert that you went to and how it just brings you to tears. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go to a Brandi-Carlisle concert.
Yes. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was like I was like, oh, what is this depth that I'm not experiencing?
Yeah.
So, yes. And that being said, and also, Janelle, I forgot to tell you that Tara knows very well Bruce Cabot.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like they went to high school together, right?
No, actually we met here in our 20s through this like random networking group. I actually introduced him to his ex-wife.
Oh, you didn't know that. You have so many things happening.
But Yeah, I mean, I talk to him all the time. He's like one of my best friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah.
love Bruce. He's awesome.
Yes. He's good.
Okay, shout out to Bruce. I haven't talked to him
Hi,
in a
Yeah.
while.
Bruce.
Um,
Yes.
okay, so we will get started. Janelle's going to introduce you.
Yeah. So, Tara Zucker is a marketing technologist. She's passionate about Dansko clogs, making good food, grocery shopping, Pilates, being a mom, and as we've already heard, Brandi-Carlisle.
Yes, exactly.
This is true. Still brings me to tears. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. It's big stuff. Tara, how do you describe your spiritual or religious beliefs?
Well, I was brought up Jewish, by two parents who were like very dedicated to like having a Jewish home. So very traditional Reform Judaism, which revolves around typically like supporting a local synagogue, being part of like your local Jewish community, attending synagogue, attending Hebrew school, celebrating the big holidays through the year. I did grow up in a sort of somewhat kosher home as well, so we didn't have any like pork or shellfish in the house. And I mean, I'd say it's just very traditional. We went to temple, we went to Hebrew school, my sister and I both had our bat mitzvahs, and the relationship is more around your religious faith, like your Jewish heritage, sharing things with, your community, being a part of something together. And it's, I think it just stems from like reading the Torah, we read the Torah, parts every year we start over, we read, parts of the Torah together in temple.
Mm.
So yeah, it's kind of a connection to the people and to your community and to the teachings of the Torah, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So so from an early age, you were going through these traditions, it sounds like. I'm hearing
Yes.
that it was very
Yeah.
close to your family, very close to your culture. Like, so were you told to pray and told to like, um, no, not at all.
No,
So there's
no.
no prayer.
I mean,
So interesting.
we
Yeah.
pray, so in temple there's like self like silent prayer. So like that's part of the service is typically silent prayer. So I think, it's sort of presented and you can reflect in your own way. So I
Mm.
think, I always like thought about my family and my sister, and maybe put some like thoughts towards my parents, or like if there was like something I was trying to get in, accomplish, maybe I would think about that as a kid. So you pray there. I mean, if you celebrate and like observe the Sabbath, you say prayers like over the wine and the bread and the candles. That's just like, very basic, but you're not brought up like saying like kneeling on the bedside and saying those prayers. No,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
it's not a
Got
part
it.
of
And so,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of group activity, but it also sounds like that you're invited to do some independent reflection as well.
Yeah, there's, when you're old enough to go, when you kind of outgrow like the children's programs and stuff, and you join the services in the synagogue, like in the sanctuary. I mean, there's always like silent prayer. I mean, nobody really tells you how to do that and what you should
Mm.
do, but it is like there for you.
Like, was there any like conflict that you had with like, oh, this is the belief system that I'm being raised in? Or were you, as you were, young and, growing into your early 20s, was this very aligned for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like it always feels like comforting to be like in the sanctuary to me, like with my community, with, people that were sort of brought up in the same way that I was. Like that always felt like a comfort. Um, there wasn't anything that was like against I never had any feelings like, oh, this isn't what I believe in. Because it's not a real strong, like, you have to do this or you're not going to be, a good person. There's not, and, during the high holidays, which is like this time of year right now, like Jewish New Year and then Yom Kippur, you're always invited. It's like the Jewish New Year is like reflection, new beginnings. And so it's like always like this time to say like, okay, well, I'm going to try to be a better person, a better mom, do better at my job or whatever those things are. So you always have that time to kind of reflect. And then Yom Kippur, which is this week, is like repenting for your sins. And it's like, that's sort of your time to reflect, if you kind of feel like you've gone astray or you've done something wrong. It's like you sort of like absolved, I'm not sure if that's like the right word, but you're forgiven, and like it's a time to say like to make amends if you're in
Yeah.
conflict with somebody in your life. Like that's sort of the time of year to do it.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it seems like there's a lot of rituals, a lot of collective community rituals around this, but it seems way less bossy than Catholicism, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And I'd say like even more so, I mean, when I think back to what I was brought up in and compared to now, like for Reform Judaism, it's even more accepting. It's even more open, I mean, interfaith marriages are supported, right? So,
Mm,
and it's very uplifting. Like the services are much more uplifting than what I grew up in. It was much more traditional. But today, like our synagogue is led by two women, two senior rabbis, like the largest synagogue in the whole Rocky Mountain region, which probably wouldn't have been, it just wasn't a thing when I was growing up. Just wasn't as supported. So anyway, not to get off track, but it's much more like user friendly, for like a lack of a better word. Like I feel like a lot of people could come in and if you don't read Hebrew, if you can't follow along, it's not going to change your experience that much. Like it's like you can still get a lot out of it. It's just more like approachable, much more uplifting than what I was brought up in even.
So do you use the word God? Is that what you would use?
I mean, we use it in temple. Yeah, for sure. Yes, as opposed to something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say God or Hashem. Yes, there's like a few
Okay.
different words. Yes.
Okay, so do you consider your relationship with God different than your relationship with yourself?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't like I mean, I still like when we're in services and we have silent prayer, like I do sort of try to connect and sort of send energy, like, to that spirit, God or whoever it is. So I do think about that and like ask for things in that, sort of juvenile way. I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about that. It's like if you just like give me an A on this test, I'll never ask for anything else again.
Right. Yes. Like I asked for like, yeah, like just for my children to be happy, for everyone to be healthy, sort of like send this sort of energy to my family, and I kind of go through the list of all the people. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds like blessings to everyone.
Yes.
And so, Tara, you spoke to your children in that moment. So you described your growing up. Does that apply kind of to your life now? Like, do you go to synagogue? Do you have a community synagogue? Do you celebrate the high holidays? Are you teaching your children? Like,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I would say, yeah, I'm following the same sort of pattern that my parents started for sure. Yeah. I feel like a strong responsibility to at least like raise my children this way. What they do with it when they get to be adults, like that's, although it would break my heart if they, ran off to a cult or something, or I don't know. But I mean, my husband and I both sort of feel this responsibility to like raise them with some foundation, some tradition. Yeah, we support a community, a local synagogue. We're part of a Jewish community. We have, strong ties to the Jewish community, I would say. And yeah, like what, like I said, what they do with it will remains to be seen. My daughter's very attached to her like Jewish identity, I would say, and that's a big part of her life, her social life. My daughter was supposed to be on a trip to Israel this summer, but got sidelined because of the bombing in Iran. But she'll probably go back this coming summer. And she like went to the end of her like education at the synagogue, even farther than I did. She got like confirmed, is what we say, sort of when you complete your education. I don't know, but my son is a little more private, which kind of worries me, and I think it's just because of the climate that we live in today. I think that has a big influence on him, and he's less likely to share that. Like his friends are like, "Oh, you missed school today. Where were you?" Like that, but he won't tell them why he missed school for Rosh Hashanah.
And do you feel like your children take comfort from the Jewish religion and the community in the same way that you did?
I think so. I think my daughter more so. She's definitely embraced it. Like it's a huge part of her social life. Her closest friends just, happen to be Jewish, and that she met through, these various youth groups and things in school. Yeah, I think that gives her some comfort and is a big part of her identity. Um, yeah, I don't know about my son quite yet. We'll see. But I think, they both went through their, the bar mitzvah program and studied Hebrew, and, that gave them a sense of accomplishment, something to be proud of, I hope. Yeah, hopefully like a, sort of a template for them, for their own lives. We can hope. We'll see how that transpires. We'll
And it
see.
sounds like, are they both like teenagers? Is that like the age
Yeah.
range?
Yeah. 14 and 17.
Is there any way you feel like within the Jewish container that God like guides your life, or you get messages on like, oh, what I'm supposed to do or your purpose? Or is that just not a relationship that exists?
I don't see it so much as like God necessarily, but more of like our faith, but more the community, I think, that guides us, and like the teachings in a, in a broad sense that, the Torah gave us, and the stories and things like, those seem to be more like relatable to our lives than this like one single being. Yeah,
So I think I'm hearing that you're like the Torah and the Judaism offers the values that align with your life, and that keeps you on the right path.
Yeah. I think that's, values is a good way to put it for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And what I'm hearing is that, there was the word God, then there was the word faith, and then the stories of the Torah and your community, and that they're very woven together, but they all have a kind of a separate role, and that on this podcast we've been talking a lot about God, about this higher power in that relationship, and what you're bringing in is you're like, yeah, that exists, and what really impacts my life more is the relationship and the stories that are coming through the Torah and the community that I'm a part of that share this faith.
Yes. I would so. And like the teachings like that have come before us, like the rabbis that have come before us, and my current rabbis, like they just had their sort of first sermon as like co-senior rabbis, and like their messages like resonate a lot with me. And sort of, I connect with what they're saying, and kind of help, really help me kind of frame my feelings about like the, Israel and the war in Gaza, and like how I wrap my brain around all of that, which is very complicated, like being, Jewish person with like this strong feeling of, Israel being like our land that we were given as a place to be and a place to, be safe, but also like our concerns with what's happening in Gaza by the Israeli government. So like weighing those two things, like, so I look to them, to kind of help me, understand that, and kind of, and they had a really nice message about like, it's okay to like disagree, like this really big, strong message about it's okay. Like this is sort of where, the learning comes from, like this sort of partnered learning, and, and I think it's like, of course, we're in this society where we're like, we so easily like shut out the person on the other side, right? But like, talking about how it's okay to disagree and it's okay to have that discussion. So there's a lot, that I kind of learned from them in that moment that was helpful, for me to sort of make sense of the world. And so,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love that. I just feel like I just hear that you have such a support system in this community that is helping you navigate the world right now.
yeah, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, I think when growing up, the rabbi seemed like this really high powered being that was like untouchable, and like I didn't have a relationship with my rabbi growing up. I mean, but yeah, crazy enough, like the two women rabbis, like I know them like as people, not just
Mm-hmm.
as rabbis, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
partly because we had kids that went through the school and had their bat mitzvahs, and sort of you build those relationships too, but like they're real regular people that
Yeah.
are, mothers and wives, and challenged with the same things we are. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot that comes from that, because I didn't have that same sort of relationship with them growing up, or with a
Yeah.
rabbi growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like there's like a lot of just human interaction, just real people to real people.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. I
I
would say so.
love it.
Yeah.
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 And Janelle, what I can't help but think about as she's describing this support, which it seems like includes gathering, ritual, and education, which are the pillars of witness sisterhood.
Right. This is true. And Tara, that's the church that I have formed, and is like in the goddess temple where I live, is the home of this church, and it's fledgling, but those are the pieces that I feel people are really needing and missing right now as
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to navigate and how to make sense of the world.
Yeah.
And what came through was people are really needing gathering, education, and ritual in order to have a sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, when I'm there, which I mean, to be honest, I'm not at the physical synagogue very often. But when I am there, I feel very much like at home and like a part of it. Yeah, like I feel belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
feel that way.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think you've just talked about this, but you know, it sounds like having a relationship with God helps you find peace amidst the suffering in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, do you feel like it's a safe place with which to then look at the world? And can you say more about that?
Yeah, do I feel safe? Like I can talk? Yes, I do. But it does feel like a safe place where, yeah, I could ask their opinion and ask questions. Because I certainly have friends that like understand Judaism better than I do. They
Mm-hmm.
understand like the conflict in the Middle East better than I do. So, yeah, I feel like I can ask them, questions and learn from them, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
grow my
And
understanding.
I think I've always, or I've experienced as I moved through different parts of the world, that so growing up, I grew up Catholic and didn't really know anyone Jewish, probably. Like I knew one Jewish person when I was a teenager, and then got to college and I was like, oh, there are Jewish sororities. Like I don't even know what that
Yeah,
means. Like, why isn't there a
yeah,
Catholic sorority? Right. And
right,
so
right.
just learning more about the Jewish culture and like what that means. And
Yeah,
but as I've moved across the world, I remember there's been I think twice where my husband and I had run into people and they're like, oh, you're MOT, right? And I'm like, what's MOT mean? And they're like members of the tribe. And I was like, what does member of the tribe mean? And
yeah.
yeah, and I didn't, he's talking about being Jewish. And I'm just like, oh, no, we're not Jewish. Um,
They
but I was like,
they thought you were for some reason.
right. I mean, one time we were on a scuba diving trek in a boat. And I think we just, I don't know, we just had the look or something. I'm not sure. But then
Wow.
it happened a few times when we were in Israel walking around.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
People just assumed that we spoke Hebrew. And so would start
Wow.
speaking. And so that's fine. Yeah. But I think
Yeah,
I thought about that situation and I thought, wow, how nice that someone's like, oh, are you in our club? Oh, you're in. Like
yeah.
that's a lovely feeling.
Yes, yes. You're
We don't,
one of us.
yes, you're one of us, right? And just like nobody, that's just not a thing with the
Yeah,
religion that I grew up with. So,
right, right.
yeah, seems like would be a comfort.
Yeah, and of course, there's like a wide range of, you know, Jewish people, and like, of course, we don't all believe in the same things. There's just a huge wide range, right? So there's also, when I was in Israel, if I'm like seeing like an Orthodox, family, or even in the US, like I couldn't feel more apart from them in our beliefs. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
there's like a very
mm-hmm,
wide range.
mm-hmm,
Um, they have a completely different set of, I mean, I guess their values all stem from the same place, but they interpret them quite differently than I would. So there's both,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
definitely both sides.
And earlier in this season, we interviewed a freelance rabbi and priestess, and she spoke a little bit about Jewish renewal and
Mm,
how she had adopted that movement or how she became part of that movement many years ago. Is that
yeah,
something you're familiar with or?
I'm not. I don't even know what that is. There used to be something called like, well, I'm sure there is like Reconstruction, like, um, so that was like very liberal Judaism.
Mm-hmm,
And I mean, even like, I feel like my parents were like, would be part of some groups in the past, but it was just very much like, we don't need a building, we don't need a rabbi, we're gonna like form a group of people together and like figure this out. I mean, I'm sure
mm-hmm.
there's more to it than that. But I don't know this renewal. Yeah, I haven't looked into that, so I don't know what that is.
You can
Okay.
listen to the
Yeah.
episode. It's coming
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
next
there you
week.
go. Okay, perfect. I will.
Yeah. I'd be really curious to hear your take on
Yeah,
a different
yeah,
perspective. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I need to learn about that.
Uh, so do you think a relationship with spirit gives you more capacity to directly support the less fortunate in the world?
Hmm.
And I would love to, before you say that, like have based on a conversation we had with someone else last week, is how are you defining less fortunate?
I think my connection to Judaism definitely gives me that, perspective for sure. It supports it. It definitely supports it. My being able to see, where there are needs in the world. Because we have this term called tzedakah, and you're
Mm.
kind of brought up with that as like a little kid. You're given like this little box, and you're supposed to put like your savings in there, what you want to give to the less fortunate. So it's like this you're brought up with that very early on. It's sort of part of the Jewish faith. So I think that teaches you early on, and it's part of the community. We do something called, some synagogues like participate in this mitzvah day where you go out and build something or clean something up for the world. So we've participated in different things like that. And yeah, we've given to, other communities that are in need. That's definitely built into the faith and to our community for sure.
Yeah. So again, it just goes back to community, right? It's community driven in the way
Yeah.
that Judaism helps you
Yeah.
give to the less fortunate.
And to be super literal about it, yeah, like on Yom Kippur on Thursday, there'll be like a huge truck at the temple, and we bring food to fill the pantry at the Jewish Family Service pantry. I forget what it's called. And we're specifically like the tuna fish synagogue, so that they have protein. So it's repeated every services, like, don't forget, we're the tuna fish synagogue. So we have very specific instructions to support the pantry.
I love how your faith and relationship with God intermingles so cohesively with the world, right? It's very applicable to what's going on. Lots of logistics, lots of spreadsheets, lots of planning, lots of organization. Like there's some kind of secure feeling I get from that. I'm like, oh, people are on it. Like they're organizing this.
Yes. Lots of people are organizing. Yeah. I just have to bring a bag of tuna fish. That's right.
And I love, I mean, like that's just such a great visual, but also like the practicality of like, oh, here's a protein that comes in a can. It's non-perishable, right? It's easy to carry. It's affordable.
Yes.
It can it's individually wrapped, right?
Yes.
Each can. And so there's a very like practical, real way it's how it can be helpful on many levels.
And Tara, is there a way that you would define the less fortunate or the people who are benefiting from the tuna fish?
Yeah, how would I define them?
Yeah, and if anything comes to mind there on how what you consider less fortunate in this world.
Yeah, probably not any different than anyone else, but I would say, somebody without a home, somebody that's just migrated from, war-torn country that's like just arrived here to the US. Yeah, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that your relationship with spirit, well, it seems like your relationship with God impacts your other relationships very directly all the time. Is there a particular way that you think it makes you a better mom, a better parent, a better wife?
I can't think of a direct correlation to that, but I think it enriches our lives, like our families' lives, my children's lives, I think it enriches theirs. And it just brings like a sense of tradition. I think my children know that this, because I've reminded them, many times, like when they were studying for their bat mitzvah or the bar mitzvah, like, hey, by the way, when I went to Hebrew school, I went like 3 days a week, and you're going like once a week, and sometimes it's on Zoom. So you better just suck it up and do it, So I think that it enriches their lives knowing that they are following in our footsteps, they're doing what my husband and I both we're not signing them up for anything we didn't sign up for ourselves, that we didn't go through ourselves, and we can relate to, and we can support them in that because because we've been through it before. Yeah, so in that sense, I would say tradition.
Yeah, sounds like you've set up a very secure foundation for them, which probably gives them a lot of comfort and grounding.
I hope so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
How would you suggest that someone find their deepest belief, spiritual path, relationship with God?
Yeah, I did think about this one. This one sort of stuck with me only because I think with Judaism, it's one of those things where we don't outwardly recruit, right? We don't like proselytize. I think that's the word. So I never think of it in those things like, oh, if you were to like join the Jewish faith or the Jewish community, here are the things you would benefit, or how, this is how this would enrich your life. You would benefit, I just never think of it that way because it's like, you do you, you're part of I do me, because this is all I ever knew. It's all I know, so it's like a tricky question because I don't have a good answer for that one. Other than I would say like, well, you're welcome to join me, and like experience what I experience to see if that's like, if you feel a connection. But I feel like I don't have the right kind of advice or guidance to like send someone out in the world to figure that out.
I was also raised Catholic and my parents were a former priest and nun who were actually missionaries who were out in the world proselytizing.
Wow. Yes.
And so I'm curious how does the Jewish faith keep growing? Like, I know some people who like married someone who's Jewish and so then they became Jewish, but I also know someone who married someone who's Jewish and didn't do anything more. And so can you just just elaborate a little bit more on how people do come into the Jewish faith? I guess primarily they're born into it because the tradition is so strong, but can someone convert on their own?
Absolutely. Yeah. And they are like welcomed with open arms, and they're almost like put up on in certain sects, they're almost like revered even more than someone that was like born into the faith. So yeah, there are like classes, I don't know specifically, but I believe there are classes, and there's a process like at the temple where couples go through these together, that is very well supported by like the clergy. So, but and it doesn't always come from an interfaith marriage. Like some people just stumble onto it on their own. So that's how it happens, though. There's no like active recruitment.
Yeah. You said the right word. And actually, I love your answer of like, just you do you. I mean, I just hear so much support, respect, acceptance in those words.
Yeah.
It sounds like you feel there's no reason for me to try to push what I'm doing on anyone else. Like however your path takes the shape works for you.
Right, because there's no like, in Judaism, there's no like, if you don't do this, bad things are going to happen to you.
No threats.
There's no
significant.
There's definitely a lot of Jewish guilt, but no threats, right?
Oh, that feels like a quote. That's a quote.
Yeah, totally. That is a mic drop moment.
Yes. So I don't feel like I'd be saving anybody from anything because I don't even know what there's no saving. It's just sort of a way of life.
There's no saving in the Jewish culture. It's just a way of life.
Yeah, we don't really have this sort of, to get really literal, we don't have this heaven and hell mentality. We don't have like do good now so that you're like you get into the special place. We don't really have that. Some people may need.
I'm curious where the guilt comes in. So like, what is the guilt about?
Oh my God, so many things.
Can't wait to hear what you're going to say. Not bringing tuna, right?
Maybe not bringing, not going to services, not going to temple, is particularly on Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, right? That's part of it. You know,
But so if the guilt of that is like, so if you don't go on Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, are you a bad Jew? And like, what does that mean to be a bad Jew? And like, why is going on those days feel significant? I'm just like, yeah, kind of trying to dig into the guilt.
I know. It's like, because, well, I think there's, I mean, you know, everybody would give you a different answer on this, but it is a day that you're not supposed to work. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to spend money. You're not supposed to, you know, there's so many things. So like, it's a day of reflection and observance. So yeah, it's like, if you don't observe, like people will say like, I'm a bad Jew, I didn't go to synagogue, you know, it's like, just like, and it's in jest, but it is sort of like, that's what we were brought up with. Like, it's like the, you know, rabbis have said this a million times, but it's kind of like the Superbowl of like the Jews, you know what I mean? Like everyone comes, like the doors open and everyone comes from every corner of the world, because it's like where you're supposed to be, you know, because you're not supposed to work, you're supposed to reflect, and you're supposed to repent for your sins. So it's like this sort of like, yeah. So there's that. There's like guilt for not marrying Jewish, not keeping kosher, not celebrating the Sabbath, not going to Hebrew school, not raising Jewish children, you know, so many things. Yeah.
So I think you're saying there's guilt about not contributing and not being committed.
Yeah, because our ancestors, like before us, like gave up so much, you know, they died because they were Jewish. Like you were given this life and, you know, you came from this tradition. So you need to, you know, live out your Jewish life because they didn't get to.
That's a reminder to be grateful.
What I'm hearing is that, yeah, like the guilt is about this lifetime though, right? It's very in the present.
Yes, definitely. We don't really, I mean, I'm sure there's something like that rabbis talk about a bazillion times, but yeah, we don't really talk about this afterlife concept in that, in like the traditional way. Yeah, it's right.
Do you believe in an afterlife, or what is the is there a Jewish in general, like if we can say, consensus?
I like to think about maybe some kind of like reincarnation, like maybe you come back to life as this different being, but I don't know. I don't, hey, I would like to believe there is an afterlife, but I don't think I believe in one myself. Yeah.
Okay. And the Jewish faith does not, it's not like tied to that. So that no one, so like someone can be Jewish and believe in reincarnation. Someone can be Jewish and not believe in reincarnation. It's not tied to the faith. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's other theories out there too. Yeah. But
Okay.
that's the only one I've heard like sort of referenced or spoken about, is this like sort of idea of reincarnation. Yeah. Okay. I don't remember where I heard it, but yes. Yeah.
Okay. I learned something new right there in that one.
Thank
you very much.
Yeah. I really feel like I just felt the flow of like, oh, there is, I mean, obviously I've known plenty of Jewish people in my life by now and have been around this. My daughter also learned so much about Judaism at Waldorf because they do a whole year, which is they have Shabbat every Friday, and they build the sukkah. Is that what it's called?
Yes. Coming up.
And so I learned, she knows more about it than I do. And I think I did have this little, I think I turned this little corner in this conversation of being like, oh yeah, the gathering and the ritual in the community, like just brings so much support to an individual. And that feels nice. I mean, I'm not feeling it, but it sounds like it would be nice to feel that held.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for inviting me.
Mhm.
I love
Yeah,
it.
is there anything else that you would like to share with our Brave Hearts about your experience? And if not, that's totally fine. But just so grateful that you're willing to talk about this topic, because
Yeah.
there's an
No,
opportunity for us
it
to
was
all
fun.
learn about each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I mean, only that, like, this is just one person's viewpoint. Of course, like, there's many different views on the matter and probably different perspectives on, like, being Jewish and the Jewish community, but it's very much like a Jewish, Reform Jewish, mother's opinion who grew up on the East Coast, who now lives in Denver. Very specific, perspective.
Hey, Bravehearts, looking for permission? Work with us. We offer Braveheart coaching. Follow us on Instagram. Meet us in real life at a Braveheart conversation. Subscribe to our newsletter. Do all this and more at our website, permissiontobehuman.live.